Hello and welcome to Firstpost Spotlight, where we bring you stories that matter to you from all across the world. From breaking news to the day's biggest controversies, we shed light on issues that shape our world. I am Joshua Barnes, live from the Firstpost studios. Let's begin with the top headlines. Israel announces the opening of a key crossing into northern Gaza to allow the entry of humanitarian aid in the war-ravaged enclave. Cambodia and Thailand trade accusations of fresh clashes along their border after Bangkok said it was pausing the implementation of a US-backed peace deal. India's Chief of Army Staff General Upendra Dwivedi says the country's forces are closely watching the Russia-Ukraine war, calling it a living lab of modern warfare. The effort to end the longest US government shutdown heads to a final vote in the US House of Representatives. The House is set to vote on a spending bill later today. And former Congolese rebel leader Roger Lambula goes on trial in France. The 67-year-old is accused of committing atrocities in the Democratic Republic of Congo's bloody eastern conflict more than 2 decades ago. We begin with the latest on the deadly explosion that rocked India's capital. Earlier today, Prime Minister Narendra Modi visited the injured victims at Delhi's N18G hospital. In a post on social media, he said he was praying for their swift recovery. The Prime Minister repeated his earlier stance and called the Delhi blast a conspiracy, adding that those behind it will be brought to justice. Meanwhile, the National Investigation Agency, or NIA, arrived at the blast site to begin its formal probe. The country's premier counter-terror agency has now taken charge of the case at the directions of the Union Home Ministry. Investigations so far have focused on a man believed to be the likely occupant of the car that exploded. The remains recovered from the vehicle have been sent for DNA testing to confirm the identity of the suspect. Forensic teams are also examining traces of chemical residue to determine whether the explosion was triggered deliberately or accidentally. Separately, multi-state operations have been conducted in the days following the blast and led to the arrest of at least 2 doctors, suspected to be linked to an alleged explosive stash. Police say large quantities of explosive material were seized during those raids across North India. The arrested individuals are being questioned and charges are being formulated as investigators trace supply chains and communication links. There has been visible public outrage and grief across the country. Candlelit visuals and protests of solidarity were held in multiple places, including a candle march by traders in Sonmarg, Jammu and Kashmir. In New Delhi too, residents gathered for prayer meetings and moments of silence, expressing support for the families of the victims and calling for strict action against those responsible.
और हम अपने इस टूरिस्ट प्लेस से यही मैसेज देना चाहते हैं अपने पूरे मुल्क को, मुल्क के बाशिंदों को, कि हम और जितने इस वाक़े के कल के वाक़े में अज़जान हुए, शहीद हुए लोग, उनके खानदानों के साथ हम शाना बशाना खड़े हैं और हम चाहते हैं कि दोबारा आइंदा ऐसे वाक़े ना ही हमारे मुल्क कश्मीर में हो और ना ही अदर किसी स्टेट में हो.
And the Cabinet Committee on Security, led by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, is set to meet this evening. The Prime Minister will take stock of the investigation and the national security situation. This is a fast-moving investigation. We'll keep track of the NIA's findings, the results of forensic tests, and any further arrests or links that emerge. Moving on now, US President Donald Trump has struck a surprisingly softer tone on the H-1B visa program for high-skilled foreigners, even as his administration pushes ahead with tough new fees and investigations. In an interview, Trump defended the need to bring in skilled talent from abroad, saying America doesn't have certain talents at home. When the interviewee argued that the US has plenty of talent, the long spells of unemployment many Americans face, Trump said that billion-dollar companies can't simply hire workers who've been out of work for years and expect them to build complex systems overnight. For this, Trump added that America has to bring talent from outside.
You don't have certain talents. People have to learn. You can't take people off the unemployment line and say, go make missiles. You have to bring in talent.
These comments come amid backlash over a new visa fee. The administration has imposed an additional $100,000 charge on all H-1B petitions filed after September the 21st. It's the steepest cost ever on the programme, used mainly by tech and healthcare firms to hire high-skilled foreign workers. Trump's tone may have mellowed, but his administration's actions remain tough. The US Department of Labor has opened 175 new investigations into alleged H-1B visa abuses, including companies accused of underpaying workers or creating fake job sites. The US Labor Secretary said the administration is using every resource to stop H-1B abuse and protect American jobs. Indian workers are among the most affected, receiving over 70% of all approved H-1B visas last year. The new rules, paired with a steep fee, could hit Indian tech professionals hard. Meanwhile, key members of Trump's Republican Party continue to echo his America First line. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis recently moved to phase out H-1B hires in state universities, calling the system cheap labour. But Trump's latest remarks, recognising that America needs foreign specialists, mark a rare public concession for a president known for his hardline on immigration. So even as Trump insists on protecting American jobs, he's also acknowledging a truth few in his base might want to hear, that some of America's most advanced industries still run on foreign talent. Let's now shift focus to Bangladesh, where protesters have hit the streets. They want the Mohammed Yunus-led interim government to legalise a national charter which aims to bring political reforms to the country. But before we tell you more about these reforms, take a look at these visuals on your screens. It shows a sea of people rallying in Dhaka. These are supporters of various political parties. They can be seen marching with flags and banners and chanting slogans. These protesters want the July National Charter, proposed after the ouster of the Sheikh Hasina government, to be made a part of the constitution through a referendum. And they say that there is no possibility of holding an election expected early next year without a legally binding roadmap for political reforms.
Today, students and people from all walks of life in Bangladesh are demanding the legal basis for the July Charter and then a national election.
But why is this charter so important, and what does it provide? Well, let's break it down. The charter aims to bring more checks and balances to the country's political system. It also includes giving the presidency more authority. This is to balance the power given to the Prime Minister's position. It also proposes term limits for legislators and measures to prevent conflicts of interest, money laundering and corruption. This charter was signed by 24 parties on October the 17th. One of the signatories was Jamaat-e-Islami, which is the country's largest Islamist party. Its supporters and 7 other political parties who gathered to protest want elections to be held under a proportional representation system. This refers to allowing subgroups of an electorate to be reflected proportionately in the elected body.
The people of Bangladesh will not bow down to the demands of fascism. Be prepared, our movement will continue with unstoppable momentum until the people's demands are fulfilled, God willing.
Now, the Bangladesh Nationalist Party, or the BNP, one of the largest political parties in the country, was also one of the signatories. Former Prime Minister Khaleda Zia-led BNP has accused the Yunus administration of delaying the elections over the implementation of the July National Charter. The party reportedly wants the government to hold the national election and the referendum on the July Charter on the same day.
The NCP wants the referendum to be held first and the national election afterwards. Jamaat-e-Islami also wants the referendum first and then the national election. Only one party, the BNP, says they want the referendum, but on the same day as the national election.
Bangladesh witnessed a violent uprising against former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina last year. Student-led protests began in July 2024 and led to the fall of Hasina's government in August, following a 15-year rule, which critics claim had become autocratic. Bangladesh chose Nobel laureate Yunus as its interim leader to enable political reforms. But critics claim the country's politics has remained at a crossroads under Yunus. Rights groups have accused the Yunus administration of violating the human and political rights of the opposition. This is one of many allegations that toppled the previous government. And moving on to our last story. Saudi Arabia is shifting gears in its tourism strategy, moving beyond luxury resorts to focus on the middle and upper middle class traveller. The kingdom says it will expand affordable options while remaining committed to its Vision 2030 goal of making tourism a pillar of economic growth. Saudi Arabia, long known for its high-end tourism push, is now building mid and upper mid-range destinations. The country's tourism minister says this marks the next phase of development, ensuring that tourism growth is not just limited to luxury travellers.
We started with building luxury destinations for luxury travelers. And we have already started building destinations for the middle class and upper middle class. We will not ignore this segment.
Tourism has become a central pillar of Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman's Vision 2030 plan, aimed at reducing the kingdom's dependence on oil. The government plans to attract 150 million visitors annually by 2030, with at least one-third coming from abroad. As part of this strategy, Saudi Arabia is developing 10 new resorts on Shabara Island along the Red Sea. These are set to open in the coming months and will offer more affordable prices compared to around $2,000 a night luxury options that are currently available. The kingdom is also expanding hotel capacity for religious tourism, planning to nearly double the number of pilgrims to Mecca and Medina to 30 million by the year 2030. Saudi Arabia is also working to create a Gulf-wide Schengen-style visa, which would allow travellers to visit multiple Gulf Cooperation Council countries on just a single permit. Tourism officials said this system could be in place by 2026 or 27, making regional travel more accessible and seamless. On Monday, hosting the UN Tourism General Assembly in Riyadh marked a milestone in Saudi Arabia's emergence as a global tourism hub. Officials called it the largest gathering of tourism ministers and delegates ever held in one place. The event also launched the Tourist Global Forum, designed to position Riyadh as a central platform for shaping the future of travel and investment. Under Vision 2030, tourism has become one of the fastest growing sectors in Saudi Arabia's economy. It now employs more than 960,000 people and generated around $45 billion in inbound spending last year, a 19% increase year on year. The country also ranks first globally for growth in international tourism receipts compared to pre-pandemic levels. From oil fields to coral beaches, Saudi Arabia's tourism shift signals more than just a change in strategy. It's a rebranding of the kingdom's identity. As the focus widens beyond luxury, the world's fastest growing tourism market is positioning itself to welcome not just the elite traveller, but everyone in between. Well, that's all we have on the show for today. We will see you again tomorrow at the same time. Until then, thank you for watching.
From breaking news to the day's biggest controversies, shedding light on the world's top headlines, detailed analysis on the stories that matter the most to you. Catch it all